The resolution of the Neighborhood Housing Development Area I have it here. To support the historic Newbridge Route 7 light.
All right. We can call the meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices on December 21st, 2013 to the record in the Ridgewood News by positioning notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall and filing a notice of the meeting with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind everyone present we have 3 fire exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We're on the record both by video and by audio. If a member of the public wishes to speak, they need only identify themselves and they can ask a question or make any statement. Can I have a roll call, please, Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Coppola?
Here.
Councilwoman Baptiste?
Here.
Councilman Ignone?
Here.
Councilman Acrofreda? Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mascaratola.
Present. All right, if there's no objection, we're going to move things around on the agenda a little bit because we have Mr. Wright and Mrs. Donahue here from the Newbridge Landing Park Commission and the Bergen County Historical Society. They're on the agenda for a resolution in support of a line item appropriation. Then from there, I'd like to go into a presentation of Complete Streets by Mr. Freed, who's here from the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers University. Then I'd like to hear from Mr. Costa on the 5th Avenue road improvements. Then we can continue with the remaining of the remaining agenda. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So if we could invite Mr. Wright and Mrs. Donahue up. How are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. All right. I know that the borough was requested on probably an annual basis to do a resolution in support of the Newbridge Landing Park Commission, and this year's request for resolution is certainly as important as it was last year, if more so, because the property continues to decay and doesn't get adequate funding from the state. So I would be in favor of us adopting the resolution. Kevin or Mary, if you have anything additional you'd like to tell us?
Well, I would just point out that there are multiple property owners, as you know, essentially 2 in River Edge. The Bergen County Historical Society is a private landholder, and the state of New Jersey owns the Steuben House itself, and I think 1 1/4 acres surrounding it, and the former Badco property and the former Pizzatown property. I point that out because we're not asking for a line item appropriation for the Historical Society. This is for the Newbridge Landing Park Commission, which is a governmental entity empowered by law in 2009 to administer the state-owned lands. These state-owned lands, beginning with the Steuben House, were actually acquired. The Steuben House was acquired by eminent domain proceedings against William Randolph Hearst, the millionaire publisher, in 1928. It's believed to be the only building in America that was acquired through condemnation proceedings as a historic memorial. And the state of New Jersey has funded its upkeep and its operations since 1928. Up until 2007, there was, from 1928 to 2007, there was always a curator in the building funded through the state. It is one of 34 state historic sites throughout New Jersey, the only one of its kind in the county of Bergen. So we are, as envisioned by the supplement to the law in 2009, administration of the state-owned properties, including the Steuben House, was transferred to a local commission on which Mary represents the borough of River Edge. As part of that transfer, there was supposed to be a transfer of the funding that the DEP has traditionally spent to operate and maintain the Steuben House. That transfer has never occurred. So we are now looking through the state law, the 2009 law, which allows us to request of the governor and legislature a line item appropriation to fund the Newbridge Landing Park Commission's activities, including the operation and maintenance of the Steuben House. To give you an idea of the advantage in savings, we've been involved for the past. A new furnace was installed in the building in 2001, which never functioned correctly. In the last 5 years, I think the state has paid over $64,000 in studies and repairs and maintenance on this furnace. A new boiler was just delivered about a month ago and is still sitting not in position, not working, because apparently somebody misread the contract and it's the wrong equipment or something. So we think we can do this much more efficiently. We know we can do it much more efficiently. And we know that we can do this in terms of reopening this to school children also much more immediately. When I was at the Steuben House, almost 5,000 school children a year attended. So since it's been closed since 2007, you can multiply the 6 years or 7 years, and you come up with 7 years would be 35,000 school children in Bergen County that have been unable to visit this site. It was an integral part of their education, including the schools here in River Edge up until that time. I would also point out that I circulated with the original draft of this petition to the various towns and to the county a press release from Morristown National Historic Site, which indicates that last year the historic site at Morristown, Jockey Hollow and the Ford Mansion, injected almost $14 million into the local economy, supporting 188 jobs. So, as I always say, even if you don't quite want to believe those numbers, if you divide that in half and say this would inject $7 million into the local economy, I still think that this is a very wise investment. For $350,000, which is what the state should be spending at the Steuben House for its operations. This could have a tremendous business impact on the southern portion of River Edge, which I think would be most positive. So we traditionally don't get heritage tourism. The fact that people who come to these sites also eat at local restaurants, stay at local motels, shop in local stores and businesses. This history is good business. And the last point I usually like to make is that the County of Bergen has really become the ATM for the state of New Jersey. We send $1.1 billion more to Trenton than we receive back in goods and services. This is the only state historic site in the County of Bergen. And it's in a condition that is bordering on demolition by neglect. So I think the people of River Edge, the citizens of Bergen County, are entitled to this small return, which is really, we're looking at it as an investment in the community. I remember back in the days when, I have to think of the developer's name, who was planning for southern River Edge here. The town commissioned a study to look into a model for developing the southern part of the town.
Mr. Nelson.
Nielsen, thank you, Anton Nielsen. And I came to a meeting unplanned. I just happened to see it in the town news and listened to a presentation he made, which was, I thought, remarkably intelligent. And I was surprised when he said that to do this kind of a development, most people would most communities would look for this type of a green space, cultural attraction at the core of that type of development, and here we have it, the real thing. I'll lastly remind you, as the resolution stated, this is not simply the oldest house in town. This is an American battlefield. This is, the stewardship and the care of this place is one of the most significant, not only in Bergen County or the state of New Jersey, but in the United States of America. This spot survived more of the revolution than any other place in America, having been a battleground, encampment ground, military headquarters, and a fortification used by the armies of both sides in every year of the war. So we have everything to recommend this and very little to take away from what these, I don't want to underestimate as a taxpayer, say modest funding, because we all know how tight things are, but I would emphasize we are not looking for new funding. This is not an add-on to the state budget. We are looking to transfer the monies to a line item appropriation that were spent here in the past and which should be spent here under the DEP stewardship responsibilities to a local commission which is empowered by law, not by executive order or by any other means, to administer this site as a as an entity exercising essential governmental functions. So we want to get this up and running. It's been long overdue, and we don't like coming here every year any more than you probably need to hear from us, because we know you've been supportive in the past. This is bipartisan. It has supporters on both sides. If you were here 2 years ago in August, you had the unique view of seeing Senator Loretta Weinberg and Senator Gerald Cardinale in handshake agreement that this is worthwhile. It's not something that occurs every day. So this crosses all politics. It crosses, it's just good sense, and it also, I think, is a moral and ethical obligation we have to to sustain this for what it truly is and what it represents, not only to the past, but to the future.
Well, Kevin's done a very good job of presenting the problem that we have. I would just like to emphasize on the 3 items that I think are most important. One, that we are neglecting a historical treasure. This is sacred ground at the river edge. We have not utilize this to our benefit. Secondly, it is a disservice to the children of the area, of the nation, not to have this place open so that they can come and visit it. They go down to Williamsburg, we want them to come to Newbridge Landing. And 3, and very important for us, that this is an economic engine that we are neglecting. We are not seeing the possibilities of economic development down there at Newbridge Landing and the economic benefits that we have in this site. So we ask you to please support us. We're asking for $375,000. That's for 1 year, but they really owe us for 4 years, right, Kevin? So we have all of the work that is being done down there has been done with volunteer work from the Bergen County Historical Society. And we think that it's time to stop this, that it's time for the state to assume responsibility for this site.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Mary and Kevin, for all your hard work. Can I have a motion to put this draft resolution on the formal agenda, on the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Congratulations on your award, Latino American Democratic
Thank you.
Association.
Thank you.
Is this something we can forward to the freeholders also and get them to weigh in and get something from the county level, and also Oradell, Hackensack, and New
I
Milford?
believe the freeholders are CC'd on the resolution. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
They had their own resolution that way.
Next, we have Mr. Jerry Freed With us this evening, Mr. Freed is the former mayor of Montclair. He is the Complete Streets Ambassador. He's affiliated with the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers University for pedestrian and bicycle safety.
Oh, good evening.
How are you, Mr. Freed?
I'm going to just set this chair up here, and maybe, Councilman, if you move over one seat, I probably avoid blinding you with this projector presentation, which I'll try and go through quickly. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all. You residents of Riverbridge are very lucky to have a municipality that has one of the first complete street policies in the state, and I'll describe what that means in a second. Just get this up here. Great for complete streets, Riverbridge, for projector screens, not so terrific, but
Would a box of Girl Scout cookies help prop that up?
Prop up that
it just might,
projector, actually.
Might melt them. Somebody else opened them and ate them.
Somebody on the... Who's on the tech committee?
Here.
Okay.
You're on
Look,
the
they just
tech-
helped out with technology.
No, but I mean,
It didn't cost
we should
you.
have a pull-down screen.
Yeah.
Up on there.
That could work.
It might work. Well, okay. Things like that.
See what the projection is.
Use the back wall.
This looks good here, Pete.
I think.
This is fine.
Let me just restart this a little. So I'm here to talk about Riverbridge's policy, which I mentioned before. At this point, New Jersey is actually really the leader in the country in complete streets. And what complete streets is really a movement to try and make the network of streets in municipalities, in some cases counties and even states, more equally accessible to pedestrians, to cyclists, to transit users, anyone using the road. So it's basically just, making roads not just for cars, but for anyone. And even though that's kind of like common sense for most people, I think, of course, you'd want to have the roads, and you should have the roads safe and easy for everyone to use. Basically, we had in this country about 70 years of policies that really just did the opposite. It was just roads for cars, and that's the reason why in a lot of municipalities you see corners that are rounded off so that cars can get around them very quickly, and no surprise, those intersections, those corners are extremely dangerous for pedestrians to be able to get through. So what the Complete Streets movement in the United States has done is, and it's taken hold in, as I said, many different states, it's really helped sort of reimagine our cities and towns as places where we can all share the road. And it's a movement that's really particularly important in places like Riverbridge that are older communities that have streets on a grid system, probably even had much more vital local economies in the past. And younger people are choosing to live in places that are walkable suburbs and cities, and that's why Complete Streets is really good for making your community more accommodating to all those people who are choosing to walk more, to bike more, and to basically to get out of their cars. So there's a lot of advantages. Is that going to be crazy up there?
Yeah, that's a little bit too high.
Yeah, maybe there. How about that?
Yeah, right here.
It ain't perfect, but that'll do. So what I'm here is really just to talk a little bit about how Riverbridge may be able to take some steps to do a little bit more than it had. You have a policy which is really good, which means that you've made a decision that you're going to try and make your streets a little bit more accessible to all users. So as was said before, I was mayor of Montclair, and I'm going to mention a lot of Montclair things just because I think it's convenient to see what things can be done at a municipal level. And I think most importantly for everyone right now, I think Complete Streets right now is a good source of funds. Right now there was $20 million announced last Thursday of federal money that can go for safe routes to schools and different types of what are called transportation enhancements, or basically it's the part of transportation that's not your highways. And so there's a lot of opportunities for that just right at this very moment. And I'm here actually at the request of Councilwoman Bastide, really just to talk about how maybe to take advantage of some of the things that are happening right now. So I'm just going to click through very quickly some slides. New Jersey happens to be a place that's called a pedestrian-focused state. We have a lot of accidents or crashes, and I'm sure you have many in River Edge. I bet a lot of the streets that you have those crashes on are either county roads or state roads. I know that the road we're on right now is a very busy road, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's probably a lot of crashes there. But I would say here are the 10 reasons that I have that are best for implementing complete streets. And I'll just go very quickly. It's great that you have a policy of this. It really helps long term. So this policy was adopted, I think, in 2011 or 2012. So it's really important to keep things going long term and make sure that planners and engineers and all staff are really aware of this desire. Main thing, reducing solo car trips. If you have your community more walkable, more bikeable, more transit friendly, you can get people out of those cars. In America, most trips are very short trips. 27% of trips are less than 1 mile, which is really a very, very short distance, and a really large proportion of trips are 2 miles or more. Prioritizing health and safety over speed. Of course, the roads that are made for cars moving quickly are very unsafe for health, because of the danger of crashes, but also, of course, for people who are aging in place, young kids as well. People at all ends of the spectrum are really not as likely to be healthy. And as you know, most people used to bike to school or walk to school back 40 years ago. Now it's very rare. Aging in place, I mentioned, reduces residential property taxes. That seems like a kind of attention-getting headline. But we found in our project in Montclair, one of the projects that we did that was a streetscape enhancement, the most conservative committee in town, the Capital Finance Committee, endorsed it heartily, this initiative, because they did the math and realized that this project in this part of our business district would increase the value of those properties enough, increase sales for the businesses, and that would actually bring back in ratables, just in the existing buildings there, more than it was going to cost for the project. Civic engagement and community vitality, I'll get into that a little bit later, and advocacy, and you already have a policy, but implementing it now, as I said, there's a fair amount of grant money that's available and more that's coming online because NJTPA, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for North Jersey, is actually doing a lot of these types of complete streets implementations. So that means their scoring system, which is the way that they rank projects that have federal money that come to municipalities and counties, is going to be much more oriented towards multimodal transportation, meaning not just cars, but other modes. And NJDOT, the way this all started was NJDOT had a really great policy that they implemented in 2009. That was ranked the best policy in the country. And as I said before, New Jersey now has more complete streets policies than any other state. Faster and cheaper now, easier and cheaper now than in the future. This is the way a lot of things are going. So we're going to see much more of this as time goes on, particularly with NJDOT encouraging more of these kinds of initiatives. And what that means is you might end up having to redo things that you've done already, and it's much better if you, much cheaper to do it right the first time. So I was talking about engineering. That's the main thing people talk about with complete streets, but it's also education, not only people driving cars, but pedestrians, cyclists, anyone using the road, just to be aware of each other and be able to share the roads a little bit more safely. Enforcement, obviously the police trying to get people to obey the traffic rules. I know that's an issue right on Newtomac Road. Encouragement, that's again part of that civic engagement part of things. Particularly groups such as green teams, Sustainable Jersey Green Teams, and environmental commissions, and other advocacy groups very often can join hands with local government, senior citizens groups, any groups that are using the roads that are in some danger. And of course, parents are very supportive of these things too, because safe routes to schools initiatives are really a part of Complete Streets. And then evaluation is part of that. The whole point of doing something is you got to be able to measure things and make sure that you're actually accomplishing what you're setting out to do. So this is River Edge's policy. Like Montclair's policy, which was the first policy adopted in the state, it's a very basic, simple policy that sort of sets out the principles of Complete Streets. It doesn't really have a whole lot more to it, other than saying that you're making a commitment to try and make the road network in River Edge more pedestrian, bike, and transit friendly. But really good policies have much more to them, and municipalities that have implemented stronger policies have been able to accomplish a lot more. Morristown's policy is a good example. They have a checklist on their policy, which means that every project that they do, they don't require that sidewalks be put in or that you have enhanced crosswalks or anything really, quote, special or extra, but they make sure that it's looked at for every project. There's a checklist, and DOT has this. So if you're applying for funding for any project, state funding for any project, they're going to be looking at a project, particularly if it's close to transit or close to businesses, that you've really accommodated the needs of all users. So there's a checkbox on there. Morristown's policy has that, so engineers, planners, every project that they go through, they're going to make sure that the pedestrian, the cyclist, senior citizens, children walking to school are all included in this. Montclair, we had a project where actually there was a New Jersey Transit rail station that was built where to get from maybe our equivalent road, Bloomfield Avenue, which is one of the busiest roads and actually the most dangerous road in Essex County, the link between that and a train station, which was literally maybe 200 yards away from it, there was no actual sidewalk that you could walk connecting up that main walking street, busiest street, because they just hadn't planned it originally. So not only this checklist is really important, but also incorporating Complete Streets into master plans, any kind of strategic plans for the town, and it really just gets to be something that's routine through planning boards, and this presentation or similar presentation was given to River Edge's planning board. Training for staff really helps. There's actually going to be a whole round of Complete Streets implementation that's happening this year that will be free workshops put on by Voorhees Transportation Center, and River Edge will be invited, of course, because you have a policy. But it helps usually planners and engineers, the people who go to those things, but when elected officials come, it's a really good thing as well. Again, bringing it to not just the governing body, but planning board, different types of committees is really helpful. And I mentioned the checklist before. So I just want to show a couple of pictures of Complete Streets implementation. Again, just locally, I like this picture because you can't see it with the gray wall and everything. But this was 650 people riding bicycling in the rain 3 years ago. This was an event that had been going on in Montclair for about 10 years. But it's building year by year, and I thought no one would come this year because it was a really rainy day, but all these people came out to do this Tour de Montclair, which is a recreational bike ride. You can tell there's a lot of little kids there with families and parents, and they went on this 13-mile bike ride of the town, even in the rain. This is just a graphic that I put together that shows all the different groups that have been involved in Complete Streets around here. So advocacy groups, this is local groups working in Montclair, of course administration, planning, zoning, engineering, different health nonprofits in the area are very supportive of Complete Streets. There's a huge movement to try and get Complete Streets policies implemented throughout New Jersey because it's a really important part of keeping young people and senior citizens more healthy, and frankly the main reason that young people are less healthy than they were back 40 years ago is because they are being driven to different places way more than they are walking and biking, and there are of course dangers in many places, but that lack of mobility is really hurting health and leading to a lot of other effects like childhood obesity. So nonprofits supporting houses of worship. We had a Bike and Walk to Worship Day locally. Different cultural nonprofits. You had a presentation about a cultural asset in town. We had bike rides and walks that are encouraging people to explore our town. And then, of course, press, and our biggest supporter in Montclair of Complete Streets has been our Special Improvement District, those businesses in the downtown area that want to see more people walking, because those are people who are going to be walking and shopping. And then this again, I just have a couple of different pictures, and then I'm done. This is County Road, Grove Street, North-South Road in Montclair. This is the way it was before, just basically a very wide swath of pavement with double yellow line down the middle. Because of stimulus funding, this was going to be resurfaced. We worked with the county. It didn't cost us anything at all. You can just see lines down the middle. This is, from the sky. And they just narrowed the driving lanes so that the cars are closer to each other, passing each other. This is a 35-mile-an-hour road. The cars were typically going 40, 45 miles an hour. Just striping shoulders. No signage, no ride your bike here or anything like that. That knocked the speeds down on this road, so that mostly they were within the 35-mile-an-hour limit, knocked down that somewhere between 10 and 15%. And then this project is the downtown project that I said was endorsed by the Capital Finance Committee. This is the way it was before. Again, just an open pavement from one side to the other, very, very wide street with diagonal parking. And this was the plan, to widen the sidewalks, to allow places for sidewalk cafes, to have a little island in the middle that's sort of a pedestrian refuge so for people to cross, and also there's a mid-block crossing in the middle of the street, and then of course all those trees there. I mean, this was a very, very ugly looking street. Nice architecture, but really basically like a big parking lot. And these are just a few pictures of the implementation, which happened just last year, and just it basically turned into it's not a pedestrian plaza, but it can be made into an outdoor room, is what they call it, because of being able to put bollards in. Those little bollards, some of them are removable, so you could stop traffic just on part of the street, allow cars to come through, but be able to make it accessible so that you can have outdoor concerts and events and farmers markets, and it's really being used very, very widely. That's a picture of it last spring. So that's really my presentation. I know I'm talking very quickly, throwing a lot of stuff at you. Basically, I'm here really just to encourage you to take another look at your Complete Streets policy. As I said, I'm going to be traveling, and other people at Voorhees Transportation Center are going to be traveling throughout the state to work specifically on more implementation of Complete Streets policies. You have a policy here. It was a great start, and my hat's off to you for being one of the early communities for adopting it. This is a way to make things actually happen, and as I said before, there is grant money available for a lot of different things. For me, I had $950,000 in grants that we were able to get for things that are complete streets, including safe routes to schools, as well as a $500,000 no-interest loan for that project. So if there's any questions you have, I'm sorry I'm talking so quickly, but I wanted to make sure I got a lot in there.
Kathleen?
Just looking at the different towns that have this, there is a county policy and a municipal policy. So Bergen County is not listed as one of the county policies.
Bergen County, we're going to be working on Bergen County because, as you know, there's 75 different municipalities. I mean, there's tons of municipalities in Bergen County. Bergen does not have very many complete streets policies. It has so many little towns.
Yeah.
But a county policy can
Turn off
really
your
be
projector so that...
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, why do you think that's the case?
I think with so many municipalities, it is kind of more difficult. Essex County has been the county that itself, I think, has done the most, but also Passaic County, right nearby, they are just adopting a policy this month. They don't have any municipal policies in their county, but the county is taking the lead. So Bergen County, this year, I mean, I'm going to be working, and we're going to be working to try and get the county to take the lead in this. Because the fact of the matter is, most of the streets that are dangerous in your municipalities, they're going to be county roads, or they're going to be state roads in some cases. But usually, the types of things that municipalities can do, they're either going to be on those roads or they're going to be at roads that connect with them. So having a strong county presence is really going to make a big difference.
Is that like an umbrella over the municipality?
Yeah, like for instance in Essex, I don't know how many of you are aware of this Together North Jersey initiative, this $5 million planning grant that came from HUD. It was matched by another $5 million from New Jersey Transit. Two of the grants were for implementation of complete streets in Essex County. One of them was for the county staff to implement their policy, and of course it was very, very important to get them to focus on those county roads like Bloomfield Avenue, which is our most dangerous road in Essex County. But also they gave a grant for $90,000 for 4 towns along that road to try and plan and do drawings and engineer the road so that it would be more multimodal. And of course, having a county policy and the county involved really helps a lot with that. But really, the county policy is, I would say, more than at the municipal level. It's probably more of a sort of guiding principle. But that really helped, and it helped us with our project as well, the fact that the county really had begun to embrace that. But we had a very old-fashioned engineer in Essex County, though, and that's where you find generally, I mean, nothing against the older people, I guess I'm become one myself, but transportation planners who are older than a certain age, a lot of their work has been done to try and facilitate the movement of cars through spaces, and younger planners and engineers are much more likely to be aware of these types of concerns. And you don't have to look across the river to New York City. People hate comparing New Jersey towns to New York City, but there's a reason why Bloomberg and the administrations have done so much in New York City. It's really, that's what younger people want. That's, in many cases, what the business community wants. It's really much better for shopping, and there's a lot of data about that. So,
Thank you.
You mentioned just last week $20 million announced in federal funding. Is this a positive change? It looked like their funding had dried up for a while for Safe Routes to Schools. Are we now seeing a positive turn?
Well, federal funding for anything is, I would say, very challenging. I mean, the big thing that's coming up is MAP 21, the transportation reauthorization. And I would say it's not very likely that more money will be carved out for these so-called transportation enhancements and transportation alternatives. But what's really good that's happening, and this $20 million is part of that pool of money, so that's that's sort of old money. But as time goes on, and what's happening with NJTPA is they're beginning to prioritize projects that are multimodal, which means even though they might not decide to fund a bike path, let's say, or through a recreational trail, but they might prioritize transit-oriented development that creates a more walkable connection between a train station and the downtown area. And they can do that. They don't have to use the non-special money just for highways and bridges and those types of things. So I think that's the change. That's a really positive thing that's happening. And it's also this is very bipartisan. I think some of the strongest supporters of federal complete streets legislation, because there's some proposed legislation in Washington, but also even at the state level, some of the strongest advocates have been not what you would expect. I mean, a lot of conservative Republicans are very supportive. In New Jersey, Lobiando is a very big supporter, and Lance as well, and Frelinghuysen as well, who I guess represents a lot of this area.
Just changing gears, if I could. We had an occasion to chat via email about a possible pedestrian improvement project in our community. And I know you're not an engineer, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have really excellent hands-on experience in implementing these types of improvement projects, and I wondered if you'd want to have a
Well, I
comment.
saw that, yeah, you sent me some pictures of the plans made, which seemed really good, like it would make a difference. This was connecting up this, I guess it's a park.
Two Lake Park.
Yeah. And I think, some good traffic calming, a much safer, a real crosswalk, I guess, there. So, I'm happy to talk more about that offline, but I think it's good for, of course, this is my feeling, but to sort of put the Complete Streets banner over a lot of the things that your staff is doing already. I mean, anything that you're doing that's going to benefit pedestrians and cyclists, or calm traffic, or even, frankly, get cars to just obey the speed limit. That's what Complete Streets is all about.
Just one other thing.
Kathleen?
Just in this literature you gave us, you wrote here, or someone wrote, simply painting crosswalks on wide, high-speed roads does not reduce pedestrian crashes. It doesn't seem like you're advocating that it's effective to do that.
I don't think that's sensible.
What was your pictures or not? Your pictures
No, I printed these out.
Oh, okay.
Some are from Smart Growth America, some are from Rutgers. They're all highlighted here.
Well, it was saying simply painting the crosswalk.
Painting crosswalks in wide, high-speed roads does not reduce pedestrian crashes.
Without making this seem like a bigger issue than it is, it's really the connectivity of a whole community that is most important. And really what traffic engineers have done is they've connected up roads to move people through quickly. And you can see the effects. I'm sure you can see it here. You can see it very close to us, where the second round of the creation of the interstate highway system, not the first round, which happened, way back in the early or mid 20th century, but what started happening in the 70s and 80s. Those roads, like 280, really sliced through a lot of towns that used to be formerly very vital places. And part of the movement of businesses, companies, commercial enterprises, and shopping from downtowns out to the highway, to malls, that was facilitated by those billions of dollars that were spent on creating those roads. Those roads like 280, which didn't connect up cities with each other. Basically, they were big exit ramps from cities to sprawling suburbs. And I think what that quote is really saying is you have to look at whole systems. So right now we're redoing our master plan in Montclair and doing what's called a land use and circulation element, where you're looking at all the different assets in the community, the historical buildings, the shopping areas, the train stations, and you'll very easily identify, and I'm sure you've identified, know for yourself, those spots where you just wouldn't want to walk or you wouldn't send your kids to ride a bike. By looking at all the assets of the community and figuring out better ways for people to get there rather than just getting in your car, you're getting away from just like, okay, we're going to fix just this one crosswalk. It's like, well, how do you get to that crosswalk? Making a bike lane, very nice thing. If you can't get to that, from your home, it's not going to get used very much. So you have to really think in terms of systems. And of course, it's more than just an individual Band-Aid.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, Mr. Freedy, we want to thank you for coming. It's been very informative. I did attend the summit, the Complete Streets Summit, and I had a very enjoyable time there and learned a lot. Look forward to going again this year and bringing a council member with me. Maybe Ellen can join me, and we can learn more and begin to implement our policy, because I think that's the next step here.
That would be terrific, and as I said, you guys have my contact information. I'm happy to come back and help and consult on different things. And the summit is going to be much bigger than it was this year. It was a full house and a lot of really great speakers, particularly with a larger picture, that national picture about what's happening, and anything you can do locally to take advantage of that trend. It helps with your property values. It helps with the desirability of your town.
There was a presentation on distracted driving that was very good. That was very good. Texting, the texting and distracted driving.
Yeah.
Very good.
Young people, the technology that they love the most are the iPads and smartphones and their computers, and they don't really go that well with driving. So there's a lot of data that shows that older people their technology that they most like are the cars, and younger people, they're less likely to jump in and say, oh, I want to get a big car or live in a sprawling suburb. So you don't want them driving and texting.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to switch it while you're there?
No,
You sure?
thank you. No.
They're terrible. Might as well.
Yes, it's no longer there.
Thank you. I will leave a couple of hard copies of some materials that you had. If there's any people in the audience who would like to get some information about a couple of articles and
pass
told
it
him
to
to
you.
check out these streets in New Jersey.
Yeah. You know.
Is there any member of the public who has a question for Mr. Freed? Okay, good.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming back.
Thank you. Okay, let's hear from Mr. Costa.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, good evening.
Good evening.
Before I start, two things. On the eve of St. Patrick's Day, Manhattan College was put into the NCAA tournament where I went to school.
My husband went there, too.
I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And thank you. I wasn't sure if you were talking about me when you said an old engineer. I hope not.
He thought you were out of the room
This will
already.
really wreck my evening tonight. With that, to segue into two things. We are working on the Fifth Avenue road improvement. The state gave us $150,000, and I can pass out some preliminary drawings. Council. This way.
We don't have to speak
And a final, actually, this year. On this project, the state gave us $150,000. Part of it was to do a bike lane on this, and that's how we set up the grant money to begin with. I guess the question comes now, we're done with the base map, we're done with some of the construction details. We are not there. However, I thought I would be done and complete by tonight's meeting. I am not, and I apologize. As far as the proposed improvements on the road, we're going to resurface, mill and pave, curbs, sidewalks. I met with members of the public that had homes within the project area. But again, I'm not there yet to introduce the plan to you guys this evening for you to sign off. Probably within 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most, I could be there. But I think what I need tonight is whether or not direction, if we are going to put in the bike lanes or don't put in the bike lanes. And if you give me that direction tonight, then again, I'll be back here probably within 2 to 3 weeks with the final plans ready, with the specs to go out to bid.
All right, well, the bike lane is on the east side, right? The east side of Howland? The east side of Fifth?
Once on the, well, we set it up to go on the west side of
The west
Fifth
side.
in order to connect into the
Right,
park
right,
system and
yeah,
then
the west, I'm sorry, the west side of Fifth.
Now, the question becomes whether or not we have to put it on both sides on Fifth. And then the question becomes, where does it go to? But I feel we could do it just on one side. We don't have to do it on two sides. But again, still maintain the striping in order to keep, obviously, the parking on Fifth and not to affect the residents. in that
We're going to keep
manner.
the parking, right?
I think we have to keep the
Yeah,
parking.
we
I
have
mean,
to
the
keep-
road is so wide in that section between Howland and Continental that I think this is a perfect example. I know the former mayor is leaving, but this is a perfect example where this is a local street that's extremely wide. It's not a county road, it's not a state highway. And I think here, if we narrow this down and put these other features in, again, I think you'll calm some traffic and you'll get a big bang for the buck.
See, Mr. Freed, we don't have one of those old engineers that you were...
I ain't getting there.
I didn't say that. Thank you, Betty. Thanks, Betty.
All right. I'll open up for the discussion. I'm all in favor of having the bike lane on the side where you could make a big loop around Van Saun Park. And not removing any of the parking. But I'll open it up.
16.
Kathleen had her hand up first.
Yes, this is most of that project.
So it's only striping. There's,
It's only paint, right?
And then most
This,
of another
again,
section
on this road, we're only talking about paint. We're not going to put any physical features. Again, we have $150,000. We're in line at the state right now, hopefully to get another $150,000 on this grant. Alan and I put that in last year. Hopefully, it'll come out within the next few weeks to a month, whether or not we get the additional funding. We're also here for additional funding through the, this wasn't Safe Streets to Schools, this was
Discretionary.
discretionary aid. We haven't heard about that either. So right now, we can only
But
do...
discretionary aid is Midland Avenue.
We put it on this also.
Thank you.
So the drawing goes from Howland to Wayne.
With the money that we have in place, we feel we're going to get close to where we're shown on the project limits. We might not make it exactly to where we're showing it, we might be a little bit short.
So the 150 will pay for striping? Is that-
No,
No, paving.
Paving.
Milling,
Okay.
paving,
Right.
curbs, sidewalks, driveways, identical to what we did on Howland Avenue.
Okay.
And then again, we set this up originally in order for us, I guess, to score higher points, to put in a bike lane in order to hook into Van Solon
Would the
Park.
bike lane go the whole length, or is it just shown
At some
here
point, we
from...
would, well, as we
Eventually
continue
link
up
it
Fifth,
together.
it would continue up Fifth
It's
Avenue.
going to go all the way up to Midland Avenue.
From one to
I mean, I'm
the end?
sorry, all the way up to Continental.
Continental Avenue,
From Howland to Continental?
correct.
But right now, we only have the drawing, would we only be able to do the bike lane in pieces?
Yeah.
Basically, as the money comes in,
Uh-huh.
the project gets, limits would then be
So you could
increased.
have a bike lane and then it'll stop, and then until the next
Well-
year, you'll go and it'll stop?
Correct.
Phases.
At this point, we have to phase it in because we don't have obviously the funding. But we have to start somewhere. So again, the state was gracious enough to give us $150,000. We need to use that and get this bid and built prior to December of 2014, which we're going to do. And again, I will have these plans complete, ready for bid. Well, we have to get it probably through the state also. Probably within a month, they'll be ready to go out to bid if Alan gives me authorization to bid, or the council.
Wait a minute. Rick, did Ellen have her hand up?
She asked my question.
Okay.
So,
Does Anthony, then Ed?
okay. So,
Thomas.
did you say anything? It's okay. I knew what you meant. So you think that we might actually, let me rephrase that. Do you think we might actually be doing some of this construction before the end of this year?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Good to know. Thank
We
you.
have to, yes.
Ed?
Ms. Costa, how wide is Fifth Avenue over here?
I believe it's 38 and a half.
38 and a half, right. So we have two 8-foot parking lanes, and
Correct.
so 20 feet cartway, which leaves 10-foot lanes now. How wide of a bike lane are you proposing to put here?
I think the bike lane, if we put it next to the curb, has to be a minimum of 5 feet.
Yes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not going to profess to be an expert on the IT and the AASHTO standards. One, they do not promote disconnectivity, which we're promoting here. Two, they don't promote one side only. Three, they also promote wider if there's parking, because there's the door openings back.
Obviously,
So, I guess I don't see, one, if you're going to do it, when the road's done, and you can get the room, and you have to meet all these standards, that's one thing. It doesn't meet any standard, unless you can proffer where these are consistent with the IT and the AASHTO standards. I have a problem signing off on the plans. I don't think it's safe, having a bike lane for 300 feet, starting nowhere, ending nowhere, and on one side of a street.
okay.
And I don't know if you're thinking this or not, but that could potentially open us up for a lawsuit or liability because it's not done.
It's like any other project. You know, you start with planning, then you see, assess your need, then you plan, then you implement. It's like, we always go to implementation before we even have the question asked. And with all due respect, the state was going to give us the $150,000 whether or not we show bike lane or not. We've gotten local aid every year, every town gets local aid, so I would beg to differ that we wouldn't have got the grant if we didn't show that. Two, I mean, I was surprised the state would sign off on something that we didn't define, and we're not meeting either IT or AASHTO standards in terms of you know, bicycle facilities.
I understand what you're saying. Whether or not the state would have given us the money or not, I can't answer that question. They did give it to us, and certainly that was part of the application that we put in, that we would start creating a bike lane on Fifth Avenue in order to hook this into the
But it
park
has to be
system.
compliant to some
Yeah.
standard.
No question.
And what standards did this comply to?
Well, again, the question becomes whether or not we're going to limit the size of these lanes. And again, you can. We can choke these lanes down, and we can choke down the width of where the curbs are. Also, we're replacing the curbs. When we replace the curbs, there's plenty of right-of-way out there that if we need a couple extra feet, we have it, because it is so wide.
It's wide here, but it gets narrower
or if we
when you
want
get
to-
closer to St. Peter's.
It gets, no, only past Continental. North of Continental to Midland.
No, it's about 32, 34 around Voorhees, Concord. I mentioned front of my house. It's about 34 feet.
I thought it was pretty much the same size all the way up. I know in this section it's around 38 and a half feet. Again, there's another way. If you don't want to do the bike lanes, and I spoke to Alan and to John Lynch, again, with this winter, with the amount of snow, with the amount of paving and maintenance and everything else that we have here, this street in this location probably doesn't have to be that wide. We could probably bring the curbs in and narrow the street that way, if we wanted to. And if you didn't want to get into dedicated bike lanes. But again, that's why I'm here tonight. The council needs to give me direction on what they want. We have that money in place. We need to use that money prior to the expiration of 2014. And again, whatever direction you guys give me tonight, we'll put a plan out, and we'll get it on the street, and we'll get it built before that deadline.
Kathleen?
It's just hard for me to see because it's so small. So what you're saying is...
We do that on purpose.
I know. You have the curb, you have a bike lane, and then you have parking. Is that how it would go?
You could,
I mean, so you'd have to go take your bike
No.
and then have a car on the
Now,
other
the parking has
side?
to be against the curb.
Right.
So you...
Then the bike lane goes against the car?
Correct.
correct.
Okay.
You'd have an 8-foot striped parking lane and then a 5-foot striped bike lane.
Uh-huh. Just, I guess the whole thing of only doing 300 feet at a time, you know, that's for the, I guess, somebody that's not, doesn't want to bike that much, you know, give up after 300 feet.
Well, that's all we have money to do.
I know, but it seems
to
kind of odd. What are you going to do? You're going to use it and then get off and walk or something with your bicycle?
You just keep,
We have a plan.
you ride your bicycle now without a bike lane.
How long do you
People
think
aren't
it
gonna
might
fall off a
take
cliff.
to complete a whole bike lane?
Well, I mean, Howland Avenue probably took us 7 years, and we still have a stretch that isn't complete. So this obviously is a little bit bigger going from Continental. I mean, you could be looking at a 10-year project here, phased in, unless the council decides to throw some
Wait,
money
hold
at
on,
it, or the
hold on.
state gives us more money.
The man that just gave, Mr. Freed, that gave the, he was talking about this money that's available, this new $20 million money. Would we be eligible for that if we were to implement, you know, a complete bike lane?
How would Mr. Costa know anything about grant eligibility?
He knows a lot of things.
I know he knows a lot of things, but he doesn't know if DOT is going to give us
Yeah,
more money.
Right, I don't know
Alan?
that.
No.
Mayor, if I may, and this is just an idea to throw out there, but when Councilman Mignon and myself, Rob, attended a Complete Streets program, it was a half-day program that we attended, one of the striping alternatives was not a solid bike lane,
Correct.
but periodic decals of bikes or shadows of bikes. And signage. So, in my mind, while you can't rebuild the entire road, we were talking about over $1 million probably to rebuild Fifth Avenue, you could probably create some sort of a bike lane from one end to the other, not a solid striping line, but using some signage and using some of these, I'll call them bike decals, at strategic locations to indicate that, you know, this is a bike lane on the western side of Fifth Avenue. I don't know whether that would go to satisfy some of the standards of providing a complete lane.
You could do that, but you couldn't do it with this money. This money can't be
Correct.
spent outside of the project limits.
Correct.
Now, the
We would
question
need a
becomes
budget
whether or
and
not
a contract to do other...
Mr. Lovelace would say, okay, your project limit goes up to Midland Avenue. If he says that, then certainly you could use it.
I agree.
Yeah. So we'd have to find that out.
But
to
you could
see-
stripe the rest of it somehow.
Correct.
Okay. Ellen?
Just, Fifth Avenue, is this the only place that we've talked in the recent history about putting in a bike lane. I remember this has been being talked about for a good year. But as we embark upon doing some kind of traffic study, we put money aside in the budget from an engineering standpoint. Perhaps we're going to be looking at other places we may want to do this, and should we package this from a grant standpoint?
I mean, certainly, if you have, again, if you want to come up with a master plan to find out where you want to put
Right.
bike lanes throughout the town,
Right.
no question you should do that. This way, it then could be incorporated to any future projects. This one, obviously we have money. We have $150,000 that we have to use, or we will lose it. So, I guess at some point, I need a decision to go forward.
But the sharrows or the decals cannot be included, the cost of that cannot be included in this 150? It will achieve the same thing, won't it?
No,
The striping?
it can be.
Okay.
It can be in here. We can put a bike lane in under this project. Certainly, the state will reimburse and pay us for that. The question becomes whether or not we can put that outside of the project limits on this.
I'm not suggesting that.
No, I'm suggesting using alternative ways to complete it from Continental to Howland without striping. Can we find out how much using sharrow decals would be as opposed to striping? Would be able to achieve the whole length? As I agree with Councilwoman Murphy, I don't think you can go 300 feet and
I mean, and
stop.
then take 10 years. By the time you get done with the bottom, you're going to have to go back and fix the top.
Well, we've had that conversation also. that it's-
Everything takes 10 years. Howland Avenue, the light on Howland Avenue took 10 years. Everything takes 10
That
years.
is ridiculous.
That's-
Ridiculous.
I'm sorry, that's just the reality. I was as frustrated as you were when I did.
It's just like the bike lane to nowhere, here, 300 feet, the next year, 300 feet, the next year. I mean, you won't be able to ride a bike after 10 years, if you're lucky.
Is 150,000 a maximum that we can request a year for this type of project?
The most that I've ever seen them give a community is 200,000 under local aid. And again, we have another one in, and we have discretionary.
No, I should say that Mr. Costa's office prepared an initial application for the entire length,
Right.
which was well over $1 million.
I think it was $2 million.
And they look at that, and here's your 150,000, come back next year.
Right, which we
But if
did.
the application has been prepared for the whole length, then...
And the whole length, and then we continued to put it in.
Well, I don't know if Councilman Murphy understands that.
I'm sorry.
We put in an application for the entire length,
Right,
$2 million.
yes.
And in return,
Mhm.
the DOT said, here's 150. So we have to start somewhere.
I understand.
But our application is in for the whole,
Mhm.
for the whole length. The fact that they're giving us 150 kind of gives the indication that they're committing themselves to the project and will fund it again in the future. But I don't speak for the DOT. But that's what they did on Howland
I mean,
Avenue.
150 out of 2 million is just...
Okay, so you need direction from us, whether, what are the options? What do you want from us?
The option is this, whether we're going to design this with the bike lane or without. If we are, then we'll go, obviously, and we will do it according to the necessary widths, the necessary lane widths accordingly. If we're not going to do that, then I guess the direction is, are we going to just mill, pave, replace the curbs, replace the sidewalks, similar to what we did on Howland Avenue? That's it.
All right. So I would be in favor of putting in the bike lane.
Well,
Ellen?
I'm in favor of the bike lane if it's complete from Howland to Continental, and I'd like to ask Mr. Costa to come back. He wants some direction. I'd like to know if we would be able to achieve that by doing these sharrow decals.
Okay. I don't know that
As
answer
oppo-
tonight.
Well, no, that's fine, but
As opposed to
as
the...
opposed to doing striping for 300 feet and waiting for the next grant. But I think to Councilman Mignon's comment, we need to know that we're doing it correctly and by standard.
Go by the standards, that's, because you can have a shared lane, it doesn't have to be demarcated, a shared lane is not demarcated. I think we're getting into trouble with the parking, and then, you keep saying it's wide, but 38 feet with 16 feet for parking, leaving us 10 and a half feet already just for two cars to get by is not generous, and
No.
and have something only on one side of the street, you can have a shared lane markings on both sides, and at least you're balancing it. I just don't think it's safe to do it this way. That's just my own opinion.
I would agree. I think we should, if you can give us those numbers for those decals.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I don't think you're going to get an answer tonight.
I will come back at the next meeting.
But Rob, if not tonight, then the next meeting, we had 6 residents who had concerns about replacing their fairly new sidewalks, some brick pavers, some curbs. I know you met with them and
I
you've
did.
done some field work on it.
And I spoke to some on the phone, actually, also.
But I don't know whether you have an answer for them, whether the slabs they have in place will be replaced or will stay,
Right.
whether the brick paver driveway apron will be able to be...
Again, just for
put back.
the record, the brick paver driveways, I've spoken to that gentleman, removed and replaced in kind. We will save them. If we break them, I've asked him to get me the manufacturer, or we'll figure out who the manufacturer is and put it back in. So what he has today, he will have when this project is completed. We had some similar stuff on Howland. As far as the sidewalk, there was one woman who I spoke to at the public session. She was very concerned because she just got the work done. I said, the problem is, if I cannot make the curb face 6 inches perfectly, and in effect it'll create a dam, I don't want to start damming water onto your property, so it might have to come out. And she understood all of that,
Okay.
and she was fine with it.
All right, sounds like you've addressed some of those concerns.
No question, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
One other question. Drainage, can we just make sure that we're double checking the elevations at Olympia and Wayne, that we're not going to wind up creating some...
Olympia,
I don't know if
yeah,
we have any
just for some, from history on Olympia. Many years ago, when John
Public
Pasterlo
anyway,
was the DPW director, Olympia had an issue with drainage, and what we did under one of the resurfacing projects, if you go out there, we actually super elevated the roadway, and there's no curb face on Olympia. Part of this, I'd like to reconstruct that portion of the street, put it back to where it should be, and then add some drainage in order to relieve that problem. But that was done many, many years ago, and that's why, if you look at that road, if you go there in the next couple of days, you'll see the one side of the street, the northerly side, has no curb face, because we added so much pavement in order to get the water out of there.
All right, are there any residents in the audience who are interested in this project? Can I have a motion open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ma'am, could you just, do you want to say something? Want to identify yourself?
Yes, Albert and Joan Richards, we live at 285 Wayne Avenue, the corner of Fifth Avenue. We had come to the other meeting. We had just replaced in December 10 of the slabs that are on our property on Fifth Avenue side to keep the walkway safe for pedestrians. The slabs that were not replaced are even, they're perfect, they do not need to be replaced. We're very concerned because it costs us a lot of money. You have a grant for $150,000 and you're worried how you're going to do things. If you look from Wayne down to Howland, there are new mini mansions. They all have new sidewalks. I can't understand why you want to tear up these walks that are just newly put down. And probably aesthetically, it would look better. But when you have a certain amount of money, and even with talking with Mr. Costa, he said he might run out of funds before he even gets to our property. If he does, then the street is still going to look with the original slabs that we left, because they're perfect, they're not white, but they're going to be there. So, just for the point of having the white slabs uniquely, beautifully up both sides of the street, if you're talking about running out of money, I don't want my sidewalk torn up for no good reason. It's brand new. And the mini mansions that go down our street, we have 2 new houses across the street, which are within this grant, they have new sidewalks. Why do you want to tear up something that is good when you don't have enough money to complete the entire project? If you, as he said, it may come up 400 feet short of our property.
So he spent all this money on repairing, redoing the sidewalk. If he runs out of money, he's not going to come up all the way to Wayne anyway. It just seems to me sidewalks that are perfect now should not be torn up just to make it look a little better.
All
My
right.
sidewalks are brand new, that's something.
Thank you. Mr. Costa?
Again, Mayor, it all depends on the curb face and whether or not we have to change the curb face at that location and not to create a damming situation. And when we start taking out the curbs, adding trees, if something gets damaged, again, we've done this from the Paramus border to Kinderkamak Road on Howland, and I think most people on that block, I have not heard any negative feedback from it, are very happy with that project. And we set this up the same thing, but I understand. And again, I don't want to go out and rip up a brand-new road and spend money foolishly, but sometimes you have to because it's just not going to work with the grading that's going to take place out there. Again, the other problem we have, which the council is very aware, is the ADA requirement with the handicap ramps and that. You have to meet the handicap ramp and all of those regulations, and basically with that, you can't, these things won't work with the grades. So you're going to have to remove part of these slabs under that requirement.
Just think she's correct, and whatever you can do to minimize,
I will.
you know, all their work and money and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Peggy?
Peggy White, 741 Center Avenue. I just, one thing that I don't understand when this happens, and it happens so often. If you're going to rip up their sidewalk, they've already paid lots of money for it, and they're going to get billed for it again. When they came for their permit to do their sidewalk, why weren't they told that there was a project in some kind of work?
I don't know when they put their sidewalk in. I know this is a brand new what?
A couple months ago.
No.
December, they said.
It was
October.
2013.
But just to clarify the record, none of the residents will be billed for the construction cost of the sidewalk.
They want their taxes
No.
and everything, nothing,
But we
they're not
don't
going
see
to
a
be
rate
charged
fee
for
or have
them.
an assessment.
It's in the grant.
You're assessed for your fees. They're not, you're assessed for the engineering fees, right, Alan? It's not for...
And the small administrative charge.
Yeah, no, but not for the
There's not for
construction.
construction.
Now, when we receive a grant, the special assessment does not include construction, only a small portion of the engineering design fees and the small administrative charge, $25 for the administrative charge.
All right.
Sorry, I have another question on the bike thing.
Go ahead.
Is there a difference between a bike path that we have in River Edge and a bike lane? And I'm trying to figure out, I know there's supposed to be a bike path, 50-some odd years, 1964 or whatever, that the environmental commission put in a bike path in River Edge. I don't know if we still have one. I haven't paid attention to it because I don't have any little kids anymore that go out on bikes. But if this connects to the bike path, then it could be just worked into the bike path. But I don't remember, we didn't put a stripe. I know that it was a bike path all over, and I know there are signs.
Yeah, the signs
saying bike
throughout
path.
town.
So I thought we still had it.
Mayor, I've never seen a document that details the bike path, although I have seen the signs throughout the borough. And I do know that we have pathways that, you know, we've been trying to connect and expand from time to time as a recreational facility.
Who put the signs up?
I've never seen any documentation as to, you know, when the signage was put in.
So the DPW put it up, but I wonder who gave them direction.
I know I was on the commission at the time, so there is a bike path in River Edge. Maybe somebody's got to do some research on it.
Okay. We may have signs, but we have to see if there's any kind of, I've never seen anything in writing that we have designated streets that are designated as bicycle paths. Anything else, Mr. Costa?
I think that's it. I will come back at the
We'll
next
have to have you
meeting
back to...
with those questions, and then,
Right, possibly sign.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costa.
So he's not a member? Crosswalk?
What? It has to be, brought up in old business, new business, or you have
But
to
he's
ask
gonna
a
be
question?
leaving now.
Can you stay a few minutes? Want to ask my question about it?
But we gotta open it up. Peggy complained before that we're not going at 8 o'clock. So late.
Peggy had a question. Peggy had a question after the clock ran out.
Long after the 8 o'clock.
Can you stay a few minutes?
Can we
Yeah, tonight, just stay.
Sorry, just a...
Can I have a motion to close to the... Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we all stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection to begin the 8 o'clock meeting?
Yeah.
If Council President Murphy can lead us in a salute to the flag.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall. Notices were sent to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News, and notice was filed with the municipal clerk. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the implementation and establishment of public policy to safeguard our infrastructure, providing honest, courteous, and professional services, establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this through research and prudent planning, seeking to minimize risk while improving municipal services. We are sensitive always to the needs of the taxpayer while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people within revenue constraints imposed by present economic conditions, state mandates, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. We have 3 exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We are on the record both by video and audio. If any member of the public wishes to be heard, they only need to identify themselves, and then they could ask a question or make any statement that they want. That's it. Can I have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Cola.
Here.
Councilwoman Bastiz.
Here.
Councilman Mignon.
Here.
Councilman Acrafreda.
Present.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola.
Present. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council for the work session and regular meeting of March the 3rd, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? We have a proclamation for Women's History Month. Is there anybody in the audience to accept the proclamation this evening? Kathleen's going to accept it. Let me read the proclamation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation into countless recorded and unrecorded ways, whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the workforce inside and outside the home. Whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing a volunteer majority of the labor force of the nation, whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions, whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, other movements, especially the peace movement, creating a far more fair, just, and equitable society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has consistently been overlooked and undervalued in both literature teachings and in the study of American history. Now, therefore, be it resolved in recognition, we do hereby proclaim the month of March 2014 as Women's History Month. Proclamation, I'm going to pass it down to Council President Murphy. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting to the public on any item on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Would any member of the public like to speak on a particular agenda item this evening? Can I have a motion to close the meeting, to close this portion of the public meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have some appointments and personnel changes. Can I have a motion to approve the nomination of Robert Graylock as Grand Marshal for the 4th of July Parade?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Can I have a motion to approve the appointment of James Monroe, 192 Jefferson Avenue, to the
John.
Monroe, to the Planning Board, Class 4-3 for a 4-year term?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't see
He's
Mr.
here tonight.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Mr. Monroe, come on up. I have my,
How you doing?
here it is. Let's see if I can. How are you? Good. You want to place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Please repeat after me. I, John Monroe,
I, John Monroe,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New
the
Jersey,
Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I solemnly swear
And I solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of a member of the Planning Board
of a member of the Planning Board
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
John, we appreciate it. Thank you for all your service. Look forward to having you attend your first meeting.
Can you get a picture?
Have you been sworn in already?
No, I haven't. I was sworn in, I was on
You want to get one picture when he comes back?
Is,
John, can we get a picture?
when does Mr. Rocco get on the agenda for appointment to the Planning Board?
I think I was already appointed.
Yeah, we already appointed.
You weren't sworn in?
I was not sworn in. I was sworn in with the zoning board, but not the proper. Thank you very much. Very good.
All right, thanks.
He wasn't here that night.
No problem, thank you.
I have another one. You want to do it now?
I know it by heart. Lou, come on up. Since you're both planning board members, put your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Louis Grasso,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I state your name,
And I, Louis Grasso,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
justly,
justly,
and impartially
and impartially
perform all of the duties
perform all of the duties
of a member of the Planning Board
of a member of the Planning
to
Board
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Oh.
There's one for each.
Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. This picture.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve Peggy White's resignation from the Environmental Commission. There's no motion. No one's making the motion. You're stuck with it, Peggy.
I will make the motion reluctantly.
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second it for
We have a reluctant second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Mayor, I just want to, while she's still here, Peggy, I want to thank you so much for the liaison for 3 years, and very often it was just you, me, and maybe Greg. You put all your effort and you put as much enthusiasm into maintaining the group as you could. You were instrumental in during the day of getting the one major event, the river cleanup, organized and running around and picking up food and helping out down there. So appreciate your efforts, and it's one of the sad things that happens sometimes with some of the groups. You have a core group of people who do all the work, and eventually they get burned out. And we've had a hard time maintaining membership and people coming to the meetings on the Environmental Commission. Now, on the flip side, we do have a more active green team, which we've always tried to merge them together, or at least try to work them together. But it's a loss that you're leaving. But thank you for all the years that you put into it. I appreciate the time I was on.
For many years.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve a salary increase of police crossing guard Robert Don Diego from a step 1 to a step 2 effective March 17, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the appointment of Victoria Peckerman, 164 Wayne Avenue, to the Zoning Board of Adjustment as alternate 4 for a 2-year term effective March 18, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is Ms. Peckerman here? No. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the salary increase of Roger Tarpey from a general repairer 2 in the DPW due to an increase in longevity from $1,440 to $1,920 effective April 28, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the salary increase of Gerald Duarte, laborer 1, in the Department of Public Works, from an annual salary of $54,736 to $55,216 due to an increase in longevity effective April 3rd, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve a salary increase of Jason Melito, equipment operator 2, in the Department of Public Works, from a step 4 salary of $62,667 to a step 5 salary, $63,492, effective April 5th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for those appointments and personnel changes. For the members of the public, we have correspondence that is listed on your agenda, various letters and notices that are on file with our Borough Clerk's office, should any member of the public wish to read them or obtain a copy. In addition, we have monthly reports on file for the Recreation Commission for January, the Library Board for February, the Tax Collector for January, and the Building Department for February. This evening, we have liaison reports, beginning with Council President Murphy, who is liaison to the Shade Tree Commission, the Library, the Environmental Protection Commission, the Green Team, and New Milford Oradell Shared Services. Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'll start with the Shade Tree. I met with them last week, and they have spent the allocated $9,000 that they had for stump grinding, which ground down 3,024 inches of stumps. So they still have a long list of stumps to grind, but they did take care of that. I met with the library last week. There's a couple of things going on. April 26th at 2 o'clock after the River Edge Run. We will be having local River Edge authors doing book talks. We have authors, I think there's 6, that are going to come in and discuss their published books. So, 2 o'clock after the run, come in and have something to drink and listen to our authors. Right now, there's a photo exhibit by resident Leo Collins, and that was from the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York City last year, and it features photographs of the pipes and drums of Bergen County, and they are excellent photographs. I met with the Green Team. They were disappointed in learning that they did not receive the grant that they had applied for. We need to have more reinvigoration with that because, once again, there was only 3 people there, and the morale was pretty low. So right now I'm going to ask the public, please volunteer. We need the environmental. We just had Peggy come off, and that too is really barely hanging on. So we need new members. I'm also on the technology committee, which is not stated here, and I did want to ask about the Wi-Fi. We did have somebody come in, or some companies come in, or somebody come in.
We didn't get any response. We got one response only, just an email, but no response from all the people that we had sent to Chief West.
Okay, well, I'll work on that then next week.
Didn't you send out an email that there was a possibility of using what the police department was using? Did we look into that, or what was?
I did.
Or that's not feasible? Is it feasible? We don't know.
According to Mr. D'Elia, it is, and not really a lot of money. But he needs to put it in writing for me. He did an email, but he didn't fill out the actual form.
You saw that email, right?
Yeah, but he's a police officer. They need somebody...
But if it's
Wait,
an
hold it. Let's just finish liaison report.
So that's my liaison
We could bring
report
that
for
up
today.
in old business or
Yep.
discuss it any other time.
And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Councilman Coppola.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Recreation I'm meeting with on Wednesday. Senior Citizens, I was there today, and I enjoyed the St. Patty's Day corned beef sandwich they had for me. It was good. And two of the people who helped run the SCORE program wanted me to bring up to the mayor and council about, reduced rates or reduced price meals at the SCORE, because they are right now currently going to, a catering place or
Frankie's Deli.
Frankie's Deli.
Yeah.
And they said to me that they're aware of Bergen County has a program for $1.25 per person. They could get these reduced meals sent to senior centers. But they're not sure, they told me, do we have to have our own official center to qualify, or is it just, if you have an established senior program, can you qualify for this? And I said, I don't know. I will check into it. So I'm going to do my homework and reach out to the various organizations or the county. But if anybody here knows or has heard anything about that, it was news to me that I didn't even know we had a program for seniors on the county level that offers them reduced...
The county has its Meals on Wheels program that they deliver to designated senior centers where the seniors can get either a hot or a cold meal.
Right.
You should start your inquiry by calling the county Meals on Wheels and see if they will deliver to a location that's not a designated senior center.
Right.
See what they tell you.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they'll give you a cold meal instead of a hot meal.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. Thank you, Mayor. And then beautification, met with them last Thursday, and we're gearing up for our Mother's Day plant sale on May 10th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Firehouse on Kinnickinnick and Continental. So that should be a crowd pleaser. It was a great sale last year. They sold a lot of flowers and whatnot, and we'll be sprucing up the library also. And yours truly will be in the dirt and planting and sod and whatever else they do.
You'll be getting your hands dirty.
I'm ready. I'll be wearing gloves though. I don't like the dirt underneath my nails.
When is the plant sale?
May 9th. I'm sorry, May 10th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Firehouse on Kinnickinnick Continental. And special events is meeting next week, and that is it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bastide, liaison to SCORE, liaison to Historic Commission, Traffic and Safety Committee, special events.
Thank you, Mayor. I was sorry to miss corned beef and cabbage with the seniors this morning, but I was pleased to be there. To be there last week and talk with several of the members. I was also pleased that the public health nurse had come back and had resumed her blood pressure screenings of the residents that were interested. She and I had a lengthy conversation, and I wonder if it would make sense to have her appear before us to kind of give us an update of what she's seeing, similar to Judge Safro did. Might be helpful.
It's a great idea.
I had to miss the Historic Commission meeting last month, but it's on the calendar for March, and I look forward to that. We had a very positive Traffic and Safety Committee meeting with full membership. I'd like to welcome Neil Carroll to the Traffic and Safety Committee as the Fire Department member. Look forward to him joining us. We talked, Mr. Costa gave us an update on some lighting changes that are going to happen on Kinderkamak Road and some crosswalk improvements there. So special events Anthony reported on. They'll be happy to know that Mr. Graylott was approved as the July 4th Grand Marshal, and planning goes on for July 4th. Lots of good plans in the works. So,
Thank you. Councilman Mignon, liaison to the Department of Public Works Zoning Subcommittee, New Milford and Oradell Shared Services.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Acquafredo, liaison to the Construction Code Official Property Maintenance Planning Subcommittee, River Edge and Riverdale Schools.
Just quickly to inform the mayor and council and the public, I will be attending the Riverdale Board of Education meeting scheduled for tomorrow. They took the night off in observance of St. Patrick. And on Thursday, finally, the planning board will hold its, I think it's this Thursday. Yeah, this Thursday, yes. We'll finally have we'll hold a scheduled meeting with the River Edge schools. I was not able to attend last Wednesday follow-up meeting to the budget, but as of the previous Saturday, they were still uncertain about what the final shape of the budget was going to be. So I plan to attend the next meeting and get some information back about what the tax for the year will be on a standard home. I think last they were looking at about $90 or so, but they were not happy and wanted to go back and keep working on it. And that's where I left off with them. That was that Saturday meeting that we had. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Councilman Papaleto, liaison to the Police Department, Fire and Fire Prevention, River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drugs.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to report that I continue to meet with the police chief every three weeks. There are productive meetings where we discuss many different factors and facets of the police department. As I learn the ropes as the new liaison to the police department, I'm also meeting with the PBA. In fact, I had a meeting scheduled for this Thursday, but due to a conflict with the work schedule, I'm rescheduling that. I'm in regular contact with the fire chief, the assistant chief, but there is nothing of substance to report at this time to the council, and so that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Service report for March 2014. The ambulance service responded to 54 calls in January and 56 calls in February. For both months, the service transported 48 patients to University Medical Center at Hackensack, 15 patients to Holy Name Hospital, 15 patients to Hackensack Hospital North, that's the former Pascack Valley, 11 to Valley Hospital, and 7 to Englewood Hospital, and 5 to Bergen Regional Medical Center. On February 20th, 2014, the River Edge Police Department and the ambulance service responded to a call of a person who was in cardiac arrest. Officers Ariano and Sanfilippo were able to start CPR and place defibrillator pads on the patient. The officers on the scene shocked the patient and was able to regain a pulse. Rivas members Kathy O'Donnell and Michael Schlossberg transported and assisted the patient on ventilations to the hospital, where the hospital was admitted, and the hospital survived. That was respectfully submitted by Donna R. Sanders, Captain, The River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Service is always in need of additional volunteers. They do great work. More information about their corps can be obtained on their Facebook page. Thank you. In addition, I have to report that the Bergen County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund has awarded River Edge at their safety breakfast on March 11, 2014, a bronze certificate that was based upon a score between 95 and 99 points for the Safety Incentive Program, where we reduced our rate by 20% during a 3-year period. This certificate comes with a $1,000 monetary award that was payable to the borough that I believe is going to be applied towards the holiday luncheon that the borough has for its employees. So I want to thank everybody at the Department of Public Works for keeping the injuries down. I have to report that the subcommittee for the community center met, and we are planning to finish up on a needs assessment survey that we plan, I think, to finish this week and have distributed to all of the service organizations by next week. Hopefully we'll have a 2-week turnaround, and then we can begin to assemble the data and look forward to seeing what the needs are for a community center. So those are my reports. We have an ordinance on for first reading. Madam Clerk, could you read the title to ordinance number 1803?
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance appropriating $33,286 from the general capital fund balance for purchase of equipment, improvement of boroughs, buildings, and grounds.
All right. This ordinance will be, well,
April 7th.
yeah, it'll be advertised on April.
No, this Friday is the advertising.
It'll be advertised this Friday. It'll be on for a public hearing on April 7th. Do we have a motion to adopt this ordinance for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. Again, this will be published in the newspaper and then put on for a public hearing. Madam Clerk, can you read the title to ordinance number 1804?
An ordinance appropriating $93,057 from the general capital fund balance for the purchase of equipment, improvement of boroughs, and grounds.
This $93,000 is additional money towards the library roof
And HVAC.
HVAC. Do we have a motion to move that
So
ordinance?
moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to move on first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Again, this motion will be advertised and will be put on for a public hearing before the vote on final adoption. There is one ordinance that is scheduled for this evening that is on for a public hearing and final adoption. Madam Clerk, can you read the title to ordinance number 1802?
Yes, sir. An ordinance appropriating $60,000 from the general capital fund balance for the construction and reconstruction and improvement of the sanitary sewer system.
Okay. Again, this is pretty much self-explanatory. This is $60,000 that is going to that we really need for sanitary sewer, emergency repairs, regularly scheduled maintenance that we have to do to our infrastructure. It was advertised. It's on for a public hearing this evening. Can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 1802?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of opening to the public?
Aye.
All right. Would anyone in the public like to comment on ordinance number 1802, which allocates $60,000 in our existing capital fund towards sewer repairs and maintenance? See, no one. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance number 1802?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Can I have a motion for the final adoption of ordinance number 1802?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
Yes.
Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
And Councilman Zavaleta?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We have resolutions by consent on our agenda which are resolutions 14-127 up to 14-139, which is the payment of bills. Would any member of the governing body wish to pull out for separate consideration or discussion and resolution on the consent, on the agenda?
I just have a question about two of them. We have 14-129 and 14-130. What's the cost of those? There's no amount.
One was $20,000.
For the repair of the dump truck?
One second, I want to be... One was $22,235.05 for the dump truck, and for the tub grinder, $25,177.99.
Could I just ask why that wasn't put, that total wasn't on there? Why it's not included in the resolution?
It was an affidavit that's prepared for both the state, and that's where the amount appears. We just don't do it. We can include it if that's what the council wants in the future.
Is it,
No problem
I know
with
it's
that.
not on the agenda, but is it in the resolution form? Is it on the attached
The
resolution?
resolution, no, the resolution just acknowledges that the affidavit has been, submitted. But if you want it in the resolution, we can put it in the resolution. I just need a majority of the council.
I would say we should do that.
Yeah, so I would agree to that.
Yes.
Make the
Yes.
motion.
Yes.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second for inclusion of amounts in resolutions regarding these certifications for request of emergency purchases on future resolutions. Is that the only question you had,
That's
Councilwoman?
it, yep.
All right, can I have a motion to move by consent resolutions 14-127 up to and including 14-138?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Can I have our finance chair read and move resolution 14-139, the payment of bills?
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $246,678.64. Recreation account, $380.14. Animal welfare account, $250.20. Trust Others Developers account, $2,200.60. Trust Other account, $140. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, there wasn't a second, we need a
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, the hearing is open to the public on any matter affecting the public's interest. Would any member of the public wish to address the council, make a statement, make a comment on any issue affecting their interest? Can I have a motion to close the public portion of this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Any council comments this evening? Kathleen?
I just wish to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day, especially Neil Carroll. And that's my comment.
Anybody else? Ed?
Yeah, Mayor, just, you had mentioned about Officers Sanfilippo and Officer Ariano with this life-saving action, and it's just a good point to point out they're 2 of our newest hires, and they're younger members of the force, and it's great to see that they're really shown to be assets to the town, so congratulations, Chief.
Very good, very good. And also to Kathy O'Donnell and Michael Schlossberg,
Yes.
who...
Both of them had come and visited me once at 2 o'clock in the morning and transported me to the hospital, so both of them were excellent also, so.
All right, any other comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting, and then we have to go back into the work session, and have to go back into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. All right, the 8 o'clock meeting is closed, concluded. I'd like to go back into the work session. We left off with The borough's administrator topics, elected officials online training, we're going to postpone that for this evening.
Mayor, the stormwater training has been postponed, but this is just to stay in touch with the mayor and council. I understand, I think Councilman Papaleo has done online training. Councilwoman Murphy is scheduled for one of the in-person seminars. I'm scheduled for Hillsdale, so we did send out the information about the online training. We're going to keep this on the work session until we get everybody trained and get the $250 deduction on our assessment. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have on this tonight.
All right, for discussion, request from the Women's Club to waive the garage sale fee for the townwide sale. We did receive a request.
Mayor, are we not talking about the self-review?
Oh, no, did I skip that?
Yeah.
Okay. 2014 budget self-review.
Mayor, if I may, there are two processes that are available to the borough to have its introduced budget move towards final adoption. The state, every third year, examines our budget document. On the other 2 years, we are permitted to do self-review. The chief financial officer has a series of checklists which he goes through and checks the budget and the annual financial statement. In addition, the auditor has looked over the budget as well. So if the council is in agreement with the self-review that I've performed on the introduced budget, pending any amendments, it is ready for adoption and scheduled for April 7th, and we'll have a hearing before that. If the mayor and council are in agreement, I would put a resolution on to approve the local budget review.
Do you have a checklist to hand out to everybody, or?
We sent that electronically, I believe, Denise. There was a cover sheet, and the checklist was included.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right, so
I move it.
has everybody reviewed the checklist? We're satisfied with it?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and there's a motion to move to approve the self-review for the 2014 budget. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? You're going to abstain?
No.
No? Okay.
We'll have the resolution on the next meeting for consideration there.
All right, for discussion, Women's Club requests to waive the borough garage sale fee for its townwide sale. We received the request.
Denise has something to say.
Denise?
I spoke with the woman that does the actual...
Marge Garofalo?
Yeah. She's not going to do it after this year. She's been doing it for many years.
Yep.
She advised the club not to request this. She told me this morning when I spoke with her. I asked her how many people sign up, just to compare, anywhere from 30 to 50, which is basically what we get in permits. So they don't feel they're probably signing up for the women's club because they're paying our fee, but that is not the case. They are doing both. From what it looks like, they are doing both. The other concern is, it would be very hard to track. If you tell somebody, well, if you signed up for the women's club, you don't have to pay the permit fee at the borough, how do we know that they're going to go and sign up for the women's club anyway? We don't know. They don't give them any documentation, except at the end, when they have their map, they give everyone the map. Like Marge said, there would be no way to track that. They could say, well, we're going to be purchasing that from the women's club, just so they don't have to pay the fee from the borough.
A lot of people, the one person pays the 15, and then their neighbors have the garage sale, and then the people have the map, and they come and...
Actually, right.
You know.
I don't know what they charge, but we charge 10.
Yeah.
So,
I have a concern too. I like the idea of having the permit and having the name of the person holding the sale. If we have to take signs down or, ask somebody to go take signs down, then we have somebody we can ask to go back and take their signs down if the property maintenance officer sees them on poles or, placards or wherever. And it is a revenue source to the borough. It's over $500 a year that we receive, towards this. So I would like to see it done through the permit process.
I would say no to this then. I would say no to this.
All right, so there's a motion to deny this. It seems like there's some issues as to fairness or equal protection and the administrative expense of enforcing it by removing the signs and paying for a code enforcement guy to clean up for the excess signage that's left around town. Is there a second on Kathleen's motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, next is the residential energy savings.
Mayor, if I may, I just listed this in case the council was ready to have a discussion on whether this is something the council is interested in pursuing. So it's up to you whether you want to discuss this tonight or list it for another meeting, and we will just need, some decision at some point as to whether you're going to move forward on this.
I would say no at this time, for a later date.
I would agree, too.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to table that.
Okay.
All right, next is Continental and Memorial Park Crosswalk. We have our borough engineer here. He has taken the plan, which was originally estimated to be in the $200,000 range, and reduced it to $72,000. When this matter was on the capital list, there was no second to Ellen's motion to include it on the final capital list. However, since that time, there's been a report from our CFO indicating that there are excess general capital funds available that could be reallocated, so we put it back on for further discussion. Any questions for Mr. Costa?
I wouldn't go
No,
for
go ahead.
Mr. President. Again, I have a general issue of coming up with a solution before we even looked at the problem, came up with alternatives, and selected the solution. First of all, my question is, do we have the authority to do this? Do we even know what the daily traffic counts on this road is that lets us, under state law, put a speed table in?
Why can't we put a speed table?
Sorry?
It's a local street, there's no reason
Yes,
why
there
we
is. It has to
can't.
be 25 miles an hour and under 3,000...
There's no question that you can put a speed table on a local street. And
if
again,
you meet the traffic counts.
Again, we can certainly do the traffic counts, but I think at this location, to try to join the parks together, we discussed this at the traffic and safety meeting to put this forward. I don't see why you can't do it, but
Well,
certainly...
I'm going by, because I've done this in other towns where you have to meet the criteria. And one is there's the traffic component of the speed limit, which is 25, which we meet. The other thing has to be an average daily traffic less than 3,000, which we don't know if that's the case at this point. That gives you the authority to put a speed table. Second of all, I don't know whether this is the best answer. I mean, I was looking today, and Mr. Freed left, but while he was mayor, they have a traffic calming policy procedure manual that they adopted in Montclair. And I think we should start with coming up with policies and looking at these locations and not just cherry pick where we think there's an issue. We should be looking globally, identifying where the pedestrian issues, where the bicycle issues are, coming up with an overall plan. And if you go by what, and I said, and whether the Montclair plan would fit for us or not, the speed table wouldn't even meet the criteria for inclusion under their criteria, which I think is very generous, if you look at the way they allocate different traffic calming measures based on different situations. So again, I'm not saying this is not the right answer. I don't think this is the time to do it. I don't know whether this is the best answer. And spend $75,000, what's the impact on the on-street parking? What's the, we know there's impact on drainage. We're paying for drainage improvements. What's the number of pedestrians that we're dealing with here? Get the answers to the questions before we design a solution. That's my question. And the bigger question is, did this council authorize Mr. Costa to prepare a plan? I never saw a proposal come by to even authorize you to design a plan. I don't know whether...
I think it's a concept. We'll put that together probably in an afternoon.
Okay, but-
Come up with a budget number to give to the
Typically, we
to the
get,
budget committee.
the council will, typically the process has been, Alan will say, should we get a proposal from Mr. Costa to develop a plan? Then we get our RFP from you, we approve the proposal, then I mean, it's a process issue here. That's what I'm getting at.
All right.
And that's where I have an issue.
Ellen?
Thank you, Mayor. You all know my feelings that this plan has, pedestrian improvement in that area has great merit. I agree with Councilman Mignon, though, regarding measurement, and I would like to have this conversation continue to move forward, but I'd like to see if we could have a study done through either the police department or a traffic engineer to understand existing data and possibly project out what the improvement would do for this section. So I'd like to motion that we take those steps to keep this conversation going so that we can get this plan approved and move forward with this improvement.
So what kind of study,
Well,
what kind of study do you want?
we need to see existing pedestrian traffic, we need to see existing bicycle traffic. I can't give you the entire thing, but there needs to be data in place to show how it's being used today, the change in the speed limit, how that's going to improve this area. I don't think that says I'm not improved. This project has tremendous merit. I just think we need data in place to take it to the next step. And I would like to recommend that we keep the conversation going and request that
I'm just going to ask
data.
the chief to come up, because he was at the traffic and safety meeting, and he knows what the borough's capability is to do a speed count or a traffic count.
Thank you, Mayor. As for the vehicular traffic, we can put a survey in place that will give number of vehicles. It will count each vehicle. It will provide the direction of travel and the speed of each vehicle. And it can be run for any designated time period. The breakdown from the printout for this traffic count is done per hour throughout a 24-hour period. You can run it for a day, a week, several weeks. You'll have traffic from both directions and, as I said, the speed of every vehicle.
All right, wait a minute. Well, now that we have the capability, then I'll ask our engineer what he recommends as the length of the study. How many days should we put these things out?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Should we do it for a week? Should we do it for just a day?
Can you do weekends, when school's in session, when, the summer, can you get a broad spectrum of
Can I
use?
ask
Yeah.
Before Mr. Costa answers that, we just heard from Mr. Freed that we need to be thinking not just about vehicles, but if we can do counts on cyclists crossing that intersection, pedestrians crossing that intersection. I think we need to include that.
Oh, yeah.
Except that's going to be I'm sure the chief is going to tell you, he's going to have to station an officer there, which is going to be cost prohibitive.
The only other alternative I potentially have, and it comes up sporadically, it's not a constant for us. I can incorporate some things into internship duties. We presently have an intern working in the department. There's various assignments like that are well suited to have someone do a pedestrian or bicycle traffic count, but it's their time as an intern is generally a semester, and I only have that usually 1 to potentially 2 semesters out of the year. Other than that, it would be putting someone there if there was any other volunteer capability to have someone do it. We potentially could outfit that, but have an officer stationed there for that kind of count, it would be very prohibitive. The other thing that comes to mind is potentially, I know there's an Eagle Scout project that often have safety components to them, and sometimes they do work with us in shared community projects. That's something I could suggest on that front.
Kathleen, you had a comment?
No, I think that would be great, because, I don't know, the intern, the Eagle Scout, I don't know, the police reserves, I don't know if that's up their alley, but to see the pedestrian count, I wasn't talking about the cars, it was pedestrians crossing there on weekends during the school year and summer, that would give a wide range of usage.
And there's quite a seasonal difference between the different times of the year. The count you're going to get now and the count you're going to get in August are going to be drastically
Yeah.
different.
But then when we have like the rec program, that's going to drive it up, so. If there's any Eagle Scouts out there, please contact Chief Caridi.
Your speed trailer gives the counts?
It's not a trailer, it's a traffic counting electronic device with tubes that are run across the roadway. That's how it picks up. It's a multi-tube attached to the roadway itself, and it picks up the tire compression as it passes over it. That's how it judges speed and direction.
All right, so at least we'll get traffic count and we'll get speed.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask a question. This is one possible solution. I'm wondering, Mr. Costa or Chief, if you have other ideas, like, for instance, do we have the authority, do we have the ability to put a stop sign there? Is that a good idea or a bad idea, in both of your professional opinion? Are there other ideas that we haven't thought about that would be appropriate and for a lesser price? So I don't know if you have any thoughts, but I welcome your comments.
Okay. I mean, well, again, if you put a stop, you're going to have 50 feet in either direction where that's going to impact parking. As far as the table or changing the whole idea was try to meld the two parks together.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with
And
that.
then use a different surface in order to do so. The question
I've
becomes-
never seen a stop sign where there wasn't an intersection. Usually stop signs are at intersections.
You would think so.
No, it's true. You put stop signs, and the manual for uniform traffic control devices says a stop sign has to be within 50 feet of an intersection. This is mid-block. It's not 50 feet from an intersection. It's more than 50 feet from the intersection. So you can't put a stop sign there.
What I'm not sure of is whether or not you can do it if it's considered somewhat of a path, of a bike path. You might, I don't know.
You could put up all kinds of flashing pedestrian signs.
You probably can't do a stop.
You
probably
can't do a
correct.
stop sign. You just cannot do it.
Coming down that hill, I mean, imagine trying to stop, like here you are, going down.
This is my opinion on the record, all right? I don't want to be sitting here and telling everybody, let's stand and have a moment of silence because some child got hit by their car crossing what I consider to be one of the most dangerous locations in the borough for kids on bicycles and pedestrians who cross from one side of the park to the other side of the park. It's like a no-brainer. This is a bad spot. Anybody that's been to the park on any event knows that it's a bad spot. This would calm traffic at that spot when they hit the area that's well designated, where we wouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction every time there's another tragedy. We have money in the budget that's already in capital that we could easily reallocate. We could get this job done this year in 2014, and it could be there by the 4th of July parade if we wanted it to. And wait a minute.
Because I asked them to comment, they didn't finish commenting, Mayor.
I have the floor right now. I didn't hear them indicating that they had more to say at this point. So I would think that we're really missing an opportunity by not going forward on this plan. I'm all in favor if we want to study it some more, find out that what we already know is that traffic goes more than 25 miles an hour. But if you want to put out the chief's equipment, the department's equipment, so that you can confirm it and have a higher degree of confidence, go and do that. I think you're going to find out that the traffic goes more than 25 miles an hour, and I think you're going to find out that, as Mr. Freed said when he looked at this plan, that it has merit and that we have the speed table and it's going to help slow down traffic. And it's perfectly positioned right from the crosswalk to the middle of the park, where it should be. So I it just,
But, you know, Mayor, wait.
I just have a...
I asked
I'm
them for
only
the
talking
comment.
about...
I don't think that this is a bad idea. I would just like reassurance, as an elected official, that there are no other solutions that our engineer and chief of police think are equally viable. That's my only question. I don't believe they finished answering it, because we went straight into the stop sign, and then we began debating the stop sign. I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for this. I'm not saying I think this is a bad idea. I think this is a great idea. But I'd like to have reassurances that there are no other solutions that are viable, and that's really the question I'd like answered from our experts.
That's okay, except you started by saying, can we put a stop sign up?
Well, that was, what I was simply doing was priming the pump. I was simply saying, this is one idea that I heard, and I said, is this viable, or are there any other ideas, and I invite your comment. And I'd like for you to, if you're finished, please let the council know that you feel that there are no other viable solutions. The stop sign is one idea I heard. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an expert. I would just like to be reassured that this is really the only viable solution. And if there is another viable solution in either of your expert opinions, I'd like to just know what that is. That's all I'm really asking, Mayor. I'm not trying to contradict. I just really would like the information.
But your question was, can we put a stop sign? And the answer was, you can't put a stop sign. Just can't put a stop sign mid-block.
Okay.
There's no standard that allows it.
But could we have our experts either say there is no other solution, or if so, could they offer other ideas?
Well, you had a $200,000 solution, and then you reduced it to $72,000.
What we, again, Mayor, and for the council, we came up with just a quick estimate on putting either more than one of these and doing a bigger stretch. Then come back in order to see some sort of a concept to give to the council what it could be reduced to. And again, we were at the traffic safety meeting. This came up that day. I know the chief was there. But again, could you do other stuff? Councilman Mignone said, why don't we just put paint on the street? Can you do that? Sure. Will it work? I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying painting a crosswalk.
Well, I think his idea was probably to, I don't know what his idea was, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I know
You
we
have a
discussed
controlled
paint.
intersection up at 5th and Continental. When there's a red light there's no traffic coming down the hill. There's no right turn on red coming off of 5th, so there's no traffic coming in that direction. So the only traffic you have is coming westbound on Continental. Second of all, do you need a speed table here? I said, if I go by Mr. Freed's own criteria, this wouldn't have made it in Montclair, because the criteria don't meet what's here. Third, you're doing a mid-block crosswalk. That's not an optimal solution either. You want to make sure when you do that you're providing adequate safety. And for the mayor to keep throwing, all these tragedies, potential tragedies, that's irresponsible, saying, let it rest on your head if somebody gets hit by a car. I mean, that's irresponsible.
I want it to be on the record that I
want to say,
this is a really dangerous spot.
And if you put a mid-block crosswalk that's not done to any standards, or it's just as dangerous, like giving people false sense of security, and you're not doing it safe according to any standards. If you're the expert, Mr. Mayor, then you sign the plan, and you sign it, and you design it.
It's our engineer's design.
And I'm asking what it's based on, and I don't have any criteria. Again, the same thing I said about the bike lanes. You need to have criteria. You need to have the information when you're doing a design. You just don't stick a mid-block crosswalk with no accepted criteria, not even know how many pedestrians are crossing, don't know your traffic counts. Can you just put a crosswalk without doing a speed table?
I still want them to finish my initial question. Do you think there are other solutions? If so, if not, please say so. If you do, please offer them.
Mid-block crossings are inherently more dangerous. That's why generally they're frowned upon from the Department of Transportation. That's their mantra concerning mid-block crossings. If you are going to incorporate a mid-block crossing, you have to start taking some type of extraordinary means to mark it and to make it more safe, because of the fact that it begins from a position of being more dangerous. It's more dangerous because drivers are not expecting that to be a normal break in traffic, such as an intersection. Well, we've gone through several evolutions, not only at this location, but I'll also bring up Kinderkamak and Madison, and just a little bit north of that by the post office itself, to deal with pedestrian crossings. The busiest time for mass crossings is during the summer camp on Continental Avenue. Several of the evolutions we went through to try and make that safer, we had a crossing guard that was stationed there to help cross. We placed pedestrian stanchions both east and west of the crossing position, and then we directed everyone to go to that location. Even with the additional stanchions that were in place to make that as visible as it could be, we still felt that it was not the safest solution, because that's all we were capable of putting in place. We didn't have the capability to roll out a large painted sidewalk, to put in any type of strips in the roadway, to incorporate any other type of physical barriers to calm traffic. So we elected over the last 2 summers, I directed that pedestrians actually be directed to cross rather than mid-block any longer at Elm itself. So we began to try and train the parents and the campers that were attending the summer camp. If they were parking the American Legion lot for drop-off, they would walk down to Elm Avenue and cross there with the assistance of a crossing guard. We stationed police officers at that location to reinforce that, and it was successful and certainly safe, because that was not only an accepted intersection, but it had a crossing guard and it had police presence. When camp was out of season, or when it ended for the day, you can go down there at any given time and you'll see kids that are just attracted to the park and are playing in that area, driving all over the area, sometimes looking, sometimes not, as they cross the street, and often in a dangerous manner. We encountered the same thing just real quickly by the post office, and there was a big push to put that mid-block crossing right by the post office, because that's where everyone happened to cross. It just was not safe. And the police department's concern was that even if some people would still jaywalk in that area, we would try and direct and make safer the closest viable location, which was at Madison, where an actual crosswalk would exist, because it's an intersection, a T intersection, but an intersection nonetheless. And that's what we ultimately put in there, was the striping there. And we continue to enforce that as best as we are able to direct people to Madison. It's far safer than if they were directly in front of the post office, even if that's where people have a tendency, based on trying to find the shortest path, would like to go. Through education and through enforcement, we try and get them to go to the intersection. That's what we've been doing without any type of physical barriers so far on Continental Avenue in the area of Elm and points just west.
I mean, basically what's there is just an arrow, an arrow sign on a pole.
Well, there's more than just the arrow on the pole. There's also advanced notice signs. It's all the appropriate markings that are allowed under the manual on uniform traffic standards are all in place. There's advanced pedestrian signs approaching it both east and westbound, and there's an oversized marked crosswalk at that location. Short of that, there's nothing else that we could have put in under the resources that we had available. So, I mean, I do feel that's far preferable to any of the designs that we looked at that involved a mid-block crossing north of that location.
Mayor, if I may follow up? I don't necessarily think that what Mr. Costa did is a bad idea. I want to say that for the record. I just want to make sure that we're exploring all the possible options. One option that I was thinking of, and you guys didn't bring it up, so I want to bring it up, is I noticed several years ago in Times Square, the Bloomberg administration put up wrought iron fences to prevent people from doing a mid-block cross towards where they created pedestrian areas. And I'm wondering, do we have the authority, and would either of you consider it to be a viable solution if we created a wrought iron fence either on both sides of Continental or on the northbound side all the way down to the cross, and or would it be a possible solution for us to make the what is the intersection just south of the park? It's Continental and Elm. If we made Elm a four-way stop, and that would have a calming effect. And if we did do that, do we have the authority to do that?
What you will do the minute you put in a four-way stop is increase accidents.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, four-way stops are also inherently dangerous, despite the fact that everybody had a study and learn how to appropriately travel when they took their driver's test. That's the last time anybody really mastered what they were supposed to do at a four-way stop.
So are you saying a four-way stop
Increases accidents.
would be more inherently dangerous than our mid-block solution that we have here?
What I'm saying is it would cause more vehicular accidents in the intersection of Continental and Elm.
Okay.
Aren't they phasing out four-way stops? I
Yeah,
just read about
they're-
that, they're phasing them out.
It's very, very frowned upon to...
What about the fencing?
Now, the fencing is and it is something that I had considered. It is the means to create a physical barrier to direct pedestrian travel.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of ways it can be done. They can be done with planters, they can be done with fencing, they can be done with shrubbery itself, although sometimes people will make a pathway through hedges. But those are certainly three options. You could have concrete planters, you could have a fence, and you could have plantings, and the combination thereof that actually would prevent bicyclists and pedestrians and guide them to a path and a place where you want them to cross. And that could be channeled as far as Elm Avenue, or it could be channeled to an opening in a mid-block location. You just have to do something, as I said before, that's beyond the resources that the police department had at hand. I'm talking about, like, if you wanted to make a 12-foot wide painted crosswalk of a different color than the rest of the roadway, something that's really going to stand out for a motorist that's passing. Things like that are going to, and Mr. Casa's plan had to do with decreasing the roadway width and actually channeling traffic into a more confined space where the crossing would actually be located. So those are all solutions to try and make a mid-block crossing safer.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Costa? Do any of those ideas, or do you have another one to offer?
Again, originally, I think Councilman Mignone said, why don't we just paint the street, which would be the cheapest alternative. I'm not sure whether that would work or wouldn't work. As far as mid-block, there's no question. They're frowned upon, they're not looked at, because again, there's a sense of security that shouldn't exist, so you need to go above and beyond. And that's why you would come in with different pavement colors, now in this case, we were talking about environmental pavers, a couple other reasons too, to make it different, to raise it, to slow it, to quell it, to bring in the street, to do all the above, to try to join it and calm Continental down. Because again, if anybody's been on Continental, if anybody walks on Continental, if anybody runs on Continental, the amount of traffic and the speed of the traffic has certainly gone up in the past few years, no doubt about it. And I know our clerk lives on Continental, and I'm sure if she wanted to, she could attest to that it's extremely busy, and there is a tremendous amount of traffic, and they're probably doing more than 25 miles an hour. So the question becomes, do you go a cheaper route to try it, to see if it'll work, or do you go with a more expensive alternative and make sure that this is the best you can possibly do? I'd rather go, again, prioritize portion if we're going to do it at that location. I mean, the fence idea is a great idea. The problem, I think, with the fence, you don't own all the way to the corner.
No.
Because you have a private residence, you have the ambulance corps building, so it's limited how far you can take the fence too. And what's probably going to happen is that they're going to walk to the end of the fence, and they'll probably cross there, which won't be at the intersection of Continental and Elm.
Easement here.
No, I'm saying on the north side.
Okay.
We do have a light at 5th and Continental. Obviously, there's a light at Continental and Kinderkamack, and then in between at that intersection, obviously there is no light. You have the school. I mean, it's a busy area, and again, it came in, and now you have a street that separates the park. There's uses on both sides of the park. You get the library to the south, it's a draw, you have the tennis courts, and then you have a passive area that probably people don't use as much, and then obviously on the north side you have that. So, maybe you lose a little bit of parking, but I think this is the best alternative.
We could do a flyover, we could do a tunnel.
We could do a lot of things, but you have the checkbook.
I just think this is a very attractive manner. You can stick neon signs everywhere, spray paint the ground. Planters, you're going to need them jammed next to each other. A fence is going to have to be 5 feet high, because if it's any lower, you'll jump over it. So I think this is a very attractive manner in which to accomplish this. And Denise, you were hoping to say something.
Well, what about during, my concern would be during like park, like when they're camping, and you have people parked up, or not even just camping, people have picnics down there all the time. You have cars parked, and we decided this crossing. It's hard enough to see children crossing without that, with the cars on either side. They're starting to go between cars to cross. You're going to have more of a dangerous situation.
Well, what you're doing is you're bringing the curb in, so the cars actually are not where the crosswalk is. The curb, it gets very narrow there. It gets.
The pedestrians will be standing at the end of the bump out,
So you're.
which will
It'll be
pass-
protruding. You'll be
which
able to see them.
They'll be
You'll be able to
protruding
see them.
past the parked cars, so you'll have more visibility.
So there's something in the road that's actually a bump out?
The curbs will come in.
The curbs come in.
It's like a clogged artery, it's like plaque on the side, and then it
Basically
restricts
an
the...
hourglass.
Looks like
There
an
should be no
hourglass.
parking there anyway. People could park in the American Legion and just go across.
We can't do speed bumps or anything like that, like slow down traffic? No.
It's not
Well,
traffic.
again, if you come down Continental, as you're coming down the hill, you come into this landing, there's not a lot, because traffic and safety we discussed, well, you're going to have the paths, there's actually 2 paths, you should put 2 crosswalks. But I think that where the geometry is, I think that'd be very difficult to slow the people down until you actually get
In the gully.
basically, thank you, where the flat area is.
It was the same situation we encountered at Kinder Quebec. You have that grade just south of the post office.
Vito, you had a
Thank you. Obviously, I share the concerns mentioned by my fellow council member. And my question, Bob, is what is the criteria dictated the proposed location of this crosswalk? Why was it placed where it's shown now?
To give symmetry to the park, because you have the Legion, you have the tennis courts, there's paths there now, and it would add symmetry to that, because you can't get them, it doesn't appear that you can get to the left or the right.
Okay, so
So you're down to 1, you need to somehow connect some sort of symmetry between the 2.
but if we knew that we're going to develop a community center, and part of the community center will be also an area that will serve as a reviewing stand during parades and functions and whatnot. I think what I'm offering is that perhaps that should be taken also in consideration as to where the location of this crosswalk ought to be. Because we only get
where the crosswalk.
we only get one shot at doing this, and
Right.
certainly I also share the mayor's concerns that, and hopefully this will be the first of many in this town, once we identify the critical crossings, whether it's in front of St. Peter's or some other location. So I think we need to take this to the next level, and I've used the expression, make it part of as much a preliminary master plan as possible, but assume that there's going to be a community center created, and then let's see if this remains the correct location for the crosswalk.
Mayor? Yes. Just given the hour that we're at now with 3 interviews to do in closed session, I was wondering if the council would consider rescheduling this for the next meeting, having these gentlemen back, and continuing this discussion. If you'd like to table the rest of the agenda and try and go to those interviews before it gets too late.
You could probably quickly do the animal control contract.
Well, what about this? You want to continue this at another
Yes, I
time?
would like to continue it. Because we do have questions, the counts, volunteers, Eagles.
Are we going to go forward with the count, with the traffic count?
Start with that, yes.
Okay. All right, Chief, can you get us the traffic count? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
You know, I think that's an excellent point, because he has it way up
So the
here,
animal control,
where it might be more appropriate down here.
We don't know.
You know, that's an excellent point you're making.
We don't do that.
That's too close to Elm already.
Yes, but we can take the path in the park and move it, that's just tarmac put down. We could, if we were going to do this, we could put it right across from the American Legion and then just reroute that path in the park that comes out. Because most people come out of that part of the path that's by the ambulance corps. They don't leave by the other path, which is...
I know most people take that path by the path right across to the ambulance corps parking lot.
Yeah.
That's where most people take.
So if
that doesn't serve, all I know is that I asked, the first person I asked was Bobby Conway.
Yeah.
Where she thought it should go. And we already decided, and we had all these options. On the left side by the American Legion, by that path, on the right side by the other path coming out, or in the middle. And Bobby Conway said it would be, the best spot for it is in the middle, because then you could still have street parking on either side of it.
Well, then we let Bobby Conway design the master plan for the site plan for the community center and decide where we want to put the curb cuts. And the reviewing station.
She is recreation, and they do...
Yeah, but that doesn't make her an
They still
expert.
control the
I'm not
park.
an expert, and I have 30-plus years. He's not an expert, and he's got his own... Please, Mayor, don't get me started on this.
I'm not an expert either.
Okay, then we should keep quiet and wait for the experts to talk before doing things by the seat of our
We heard
pants.
from the experts.
No, we did not. Obviously, he had no answer why the thing was located in that spot.
Somebody wanted it there, and that was the answer.
That's the best spot for it. That's
No,
what
it's
they-
not. Then somebody should convince me, because
Your PE license on the
but it's going to be no, and no. Never mind. Convince me that it's the
All
best
right,
spot.
animal control contract. Mayor, we had a proposal come to us from Animal Control and Rescue, and we've had a long-standing contract with Bergen County Animal Shelter. The animal control contract is $12,000. The shelter this year is $14,400. I started to do a side-by-side. We reached out to a veterinarian of Bergen County Animal Shelter to help us with the side-by-side. They came back with a response of just some information on the contract. We asked some specific questions that I had gleaned from the other proposal, where we would have to pay for rabies examinations, boarding fees, and the emergency care of an animal by a veterinarian. Those costs would be borne by the borough under the lower cost proposal. As you can see from the response from Bergen County, those costs are included in the contract that we presently have. In addition, we don't have a third quote on this, so somehow we'd probably have to develop a third quote if we're not going to, if we're going to look for proposals on these. So I'm sort of at a loss right now. We don't have a contract with anybody. If services are required, we'd have to reach out to probably Bergen County on a fee-for-service basis and try and accomplish whatever we needed to have done. Kathleen?
So the old contract was $14,000, we had to pay for everything. This contract is $18,000. Everything's included, the boarding, the veterinarian.
No, the animal control contract for $14,000, everything's included.
Because this one here, whoever responded to this, who is this?
Yeah, Bergen County Animal Shelter.
They, everything seems to be included, the boarding, the
That's the
testing.
Bergen County Animal Control Shelter.
Okay, sorry.
That's like getting one vendor to criticize another vendor's proposal.
Take some more.
I mean, we never gave the Bergen County animal contract to the other vendor. It's kind of unfair for him. This whole process is not what it should be. We should have our own specification that gets put out to vendors, and they bid on sort of a
So
light
now we know, like, do
We
you
have apples and oranges here.
test for rabies and don't remove the liver? Do you board feet? I mean, we have the questions here. Can't we formulate something from what we have?
I guess we could if we wanted to go. I just thought we wanted to save a couple of bucks, because right now we're spending $14,000 in change for the Bergen County Animal Control contract, and I don't even think we've called them in my term for a mayor. They're supposed to be available, like in situations where we find, domesticated animals that get unfortunately struck by cars, and we find out that, their remains are being disposed of in alternative manners, and we're not really taking advantage of
The Borough Clerk's Office and the Police Department would know how often we use those services.
I've called them, I've given the number out to residents numerous times. I mean, not huge amount of times, I'm not saying huge amount of times, but I do get calls. They have a skunk, on their lawn, or they have most of that, more than just, domestic animals.
Yeah, wild animals.
Wild animals. And I do give them the number to call, tell them we have a contract with them. I've called them on a couple occasions. I mean, not every week, I'm not saying every week.
Yeah.
But Judy and I have given out the number.
Well, that's what this company would do, too. They'd come and pick up the dead carcass and dispose of it.
Or they want them trapped sometimes if they feel that they're sick, especially if they're nervous.
It looks like could we formulate like a comparison type of thing to put out there?
You have to do a side-by-side,
Right.
and there's a lot, like, for instance, with this other company, Animal Control and Rescue, I don't know that they have the same process of handling a deceased domestic animal, which we found out our Animal Control does have a process of searching for ID, scanning for ID, holding for 7 days.
But that's something we could ask them.
Yeah.
Did they tell you if they have contracts with other municipalities?
They do. I think the chief was looking at some references. They have Lodi, they have Weehawken, Bayonne, a few assemblymen here for references. North Bergen, not in the Bergen County area. They're out of the area. I don't know what their response time is, since they seem to be located in North Bergen, as opposed to Bergen County. So there's a lot of questions, when we get into this, start to look at it to see whether it is actually going to be cost effective or not.
All right, let's get a third quote so that we can make a decision.
We'll try and do a better analysis for you and get another quote.
Okay, what else was there?
Consent.
What?
Consent agenda.
All right.
Well, we approved number 2 already, didn't we? Read them?
All right, can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
We approved item 2 already.
Approve that? You need the ordinance.
Number 1, I don't think we approved.
Number 1 was
Number
not
one.
approved.
Can I have a motion to approve number 1 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please let the record reflect that Council President Murphy is not in chamber. She's abstaining on that vote. Any unfinished business?
There, I don't know whether it's unfinished or new business, but I did send out a copy of the League of Municipalities resolution to keep the 2% cap on the arbitration process in place. I don't know if the council is interested in passing a resolution supporting the...
Yes, Councilwoman Murphy is going to make a motion.
I make a motion to support that resolution.
To put that resolution on the agenda.
I'll second that.
And there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained?
Now, while we're on that subject, Alan, there was also a bulletin from the League about Assembly Bill 1021, Senate 266, about the Energy Receipts Property Tax Relief Initiative. And basically, every year, it's about basically having them take this Comptra money out of the state budget and reallocating it back to the towns. And I think it's something we should also support.
Yep. Should we go for that one?
So I make the motion to...
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Can you read Can you read the Assembly bill again?
It's Assembly 1021, Senate 268, Energy Receipts Property Tax Relief Initiative.
And this is a resolution in support of it?
In support of it.
And there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
And just in short, Mayor, it says the bill will phase in distribution of an additional $331 million adjusted for inflation in 20% increments over the next 5 years. I said this is basically money that was collected for the, with the intent of giving it back to the towns, but the state's been using it in their budget, and the bills are to bring back more to towns, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Any other unfinished business? Anything happening on Grove Street, Alan?
Yes, tonight you approved the ordinance for introduction that has the $3,000 in it for the fence at the top and the bottom of the stairway.
Right.
Something positive is happening.
Is the easement signed?
I don't know if the easement will be signed until the fence is in place.
Fence has to be in place before the parties sign the easement?
When's the fence going up?
Applicant.
As soon as we can get a pole in the ground.
I talked with Tom from the DPW last week and met him at the location where the steps are, and he was in the process, he was going to get 3 estimates from fence companies.
Okay. All right, good. Any other unfinished business? Kathleen?
Just want an update with the library, when I was speaking to Dara about that, where are we at with Mr. Police, and he said he couldn't come over there until the snow was gone, and now the snow is gone, so when can he get over there?
I did get, when Darry asked me that question, we sent something off to the mechanical engineer and Felici, and they were, that response was forthcoming. The mechanical engineer was looking to the architect was looking to the snow to... I'll send a note out to them saying the snow is gone tomorrow, can we please move forward?
Do we have signed contracts with these professionals?
We have a contract with
the architect and the mechanical engineer. Did we do that?
What's his name?
No, maybe we didn't do that.
I think he was a subcontractor to Felici.
It's like we're being treated like second-class citizens. I wonder if there is any way to say good riddance and just get a real, somebody that responds to us in a little better fashion.
Send the email out tomorrow, maybe.
All right, any new business?
One quick item.
New business?
Yeah, new business. We had appointed Al Bartoloni to the Environmental Commission early in the year. He's asked whether the council consider putting him on the green team. I guess it's more...
I asked him if he would join the green team,
So he did ask, so I told him I would bring it up.
I would nominate Alphonse Bartoloni for the green team.
No.
I'll second.
I know the end of the world's coming.
I know, that's
He's got ideas, he's got interest.
We actually had a email conversation about rain barrels.
You
Put
mentioned it,
him on the agenda, put it on the agenda.
Thank you,
On the
Mayor.
appointment calendar.
We need people.
Any other new business? All right.
I'm sorry, we taking him off the...
No, I think he'll stay on the...
No, both. We need both.
Any other new business? All right. Can I have a motion to close the work session?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Now we're going to go into the closed session to discuss matters of personnel. For the purposes of the record, the second agenda item, redevelopment acquisition of land, Brigitte Bogart. I excused Ms. Bogart after informing her that the allocation of funds in the borough's 2014 capital budget towards this item was deleted. So that's the reason why I excused her.